Namaskar. Now we are going to study about the case studies of meso or micro level regions in detail. A formal region is a geographical area which is uniform or homogeneous in terms of selected criteria. A functional region is a geographical area which displays a certain functional coherence and interdependence of parts. A region is a complicated and complex fabric with a large number of interrelated problems that can only be solved by an integrated approach. Depending on the geographical scope within which various developmental programs could be effectively organized, and it is possible to visualize through major area levels of operation, that is macro, meso and micro regions. A macro region is a large aerial unit with greatly diversified natural resources capable of being a self-contained region with self-generating economy to support a high quality of life. The meso regions are subdivisions of macro regions. Micro regions are the smallest of all planning regions. Such regions are those fortunate areas which have the potential for developing at least one specialization of the production cycle of great significance at regional level. There are 5 macro regions are there in India are Himalayan mountain, the Great Plains, the peninsular uplands, the coastal plains and islands and seas. Under the macro regions are divided into 45 meso regions. In this episode, we study only 4 selected regions. Hence, in this episode, the following aspects are going to be seen: poverty planning and development in Uttarakhand, state water policy in Rajasthan plain, water technology development in Gujarat state, a case study of major programs in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The first aspect is a case study of poverty planning and development in Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand is a state located in the northern part of India. It is often referred to as the land of gods. The new state Uttarakhand, formerly a part of Uttar Pradesh, was formed on November 9, 2000 as the 27th state of the Indian Union. It consists of 13 districts. The region is traditionally referred to as Uttarakhand in Hindu scriptures and old literature, a term which derives from Sanskrit Uttara meaning north and Khand meaning part of a country. It is an area of 20,682 square meter. The capital of Uttaranchal is Dehradun. Next is poverty in Uttarakhand. According to the state government of Uttarakhand, about 4,16,018 persons were identified as living below the poverty line in the year 2010. Based on the total population being 10.11 million as per census 2010 and the percentage of people living below the poverty line notified by the Planning Commission, the total number of persons living below the poverty line can be estimated around 29.28 lakh, which is distinctly higher than the figure estimated by the state government of Uttarakhand and compared to neighbouring state of Himachal Pradesh. The next is calorie intake and poverty line. In hilly region, a person would need more calories not only because of cold climate but the extra time and hard labor required to earn some quantity of food, clothing and housing to survive, unlike its counterpart in plains. The minimum monthly expenditure level will have to be refixed for the people living in hilly region to find out the exact percentage of people living below the poverty line. Average calorie norm of 2110 calorie per day prescribed by FAO for South Asia in 1996 is far lower than 2400 calories that is adopted in India for rural area. Nutritional requirement vary not with climate but also with gender, age and activity status. Therefore, food insufficiency and lack of nutrition is bound to affect the health of women as well as children. Thus, there is strong case to refix calorie requirement and poverty line for the people living in a state like Uttaranchal and accordingly redraw plans and schemes to remove poverty in this region. The next is access to electricity. The distribution of power in Uttarakhand suffers from many defects. main power line may be drawn to cover the entire region. Unless there is sufficient power, extension of power line to each village is wastage of resources. Electricity poles were put up in 1985 to 88, but electricity connection were given in 1992. In 2000, power supply was not there due to low voltage, which cannot even light the bulb. Unless basic amenities are available to villagers, power supply is only a luxury than a necessity. Supply of power should be extended provided it is regular and the people at large want it. The ground realities are that only few who have sufficient money and who have managed to make pucca houses of bricks, cement, etc. also want electricity, toilet facilities, etc. Next is planning and economic development. Certain development schemes drawn by the central government may not be equally relevant or beneficial to all states. Accordingly, when the state fails to participate in the particular scheme, the matching grant by the center also lapses. This needs to be rectified. The state should be allowed to modify or reschedule the scheme as per requirement of the state and matching grant allowed to be carried forward to successive financial year. Job opportunities in government departments. The study report brings out that the conditions in Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand are identical except that in Himachal Pradesh rural economy is more prosperous than Uttarakhand. Against 1.40 lakh government employees in Uttarakhand, Himachal has 2.40 lakh government employees. Government of Himachal Pradesh has promised to give employment to 12 lakh as against 2 lakh by the government of Uttarakhand during the period 2002-2008. The next is planning processes. Even though planning processes at the central government level is reasonably well coordinated, it is not so well streamlined in the state and at the district level. There is a need to fix targets and priorities for each state by the Planning Commission for various sectors of economy depending upon the resources available and conditions favored in the state. Like the annual plan and 5-year plan of the state is approved by the Planning Commission, district plan should be approved by the State Planning Commission setup provided it is managed by experts. This is extremely important in a state like Uttaranchal where there is a large variation between districts like Udham Singh Nagar and Tehri Garhwal district of Uttaranchal in terms of natural resources, human resources, agriculture production, unemployment and poverty. District level authorities should be directly made responsible for the physical verification and quality of work executed by various departments in the district. Next is urban development for sustaining local economy. As against 15,793 villages, there are about 86 small towns in the state of Uttaranchal. There is a need to develop each place for tourists as well as for local residents with all modern facilities like schools, hospitals, water, electricity available. This will help reduce pressure on the foothill towns of Dehradun, Haridwar, Kotadwar, Haldwani, Ramnagar on the one hand and create market for the local agriculturists to sell their product including milk, vegetables, fruits, etc. Besides creating large number of new opportunities for self-employment. Development of these small towns will also open market for locally produced cash crops now becoming popular like turmeric, ginger, cardamom and off-season vegetables. These towns will also provide market for pisciculture which is coming up all over based on mud ponds creating for rainwater harvesting, beekeeping and honey production, rabbit farming, etc. Since 60% of land has to remain under forest in Uttarakhand, as per national policy, sale and purchase of land will have to be regulated by the government. The second aspect is a case study of state water policy in Rajasthan plain. Rajasthan is the largest state of the country. The status of water in the state is mostly critical. Rajasthan, with more than 10.4% of the country's geographical area, supporting more than 5.5% of the human population and 18.70% of the livestock, and as only 1.16% of the total surface water available in the country. Two-thirds part of the state is a part of the Great Thar Desert, which is bigger than most of the states except Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh and Maharashtra. Out of total 142 desert blocks in the country, 85 blocks are in the state of Rajasthan. Rajasthan has always been a water deficit area. The rainfall is erratic and there is a large variation in the rainfall pattern in the state. The available water is not enough to cater to the needs of the drinking, agriculture and non-agriculture demands. The next is water supply and development. Drinking water supply. The state government will ensure the provision of potable drinking water to every citizen, both in urban and rural areas. In rural areas and small communities, any available drinking water supply will be integrated with the water management in general, and while doing so, appropriate management of traditional water source will be detailed. Next is optimizing water availability. This policy aims to harness every drop of available water in the state. To this end, a comprehensive inventory of potential and actual water resources, perennial and ephemeral, will be fully identified and quantified. The SWRPD will develop capabilities to model these resources as a part of its strategic planning obligations. Funds will be provided on priority basis to implement programs of optimum water utilization. Next is surface water. Is the prevention of traditional water harvesting structures and sources will be encouraged. Rooftop rain water harvesting, storm water harvesting, recycling and reuse of wastewater will be promoted. The economic and technical potential for the reuse of treated wastewater will be assessed in all basins. Next is project planning and implementation. Water resources development projects will be prioritized on the basis of economic, social, environmental and financial criteria. Whenever possible, projects will integrate surface and groundwater resources. Quantitative estimates of future water demands will be estimated by stakeholders with line departments' technical assistance. Water project impacts throughout the planning, construction and operational stages will be monitored by the project authorities, including social and environmental factors. Public-private partnership in development and management of water resources project will also be encouraged. Next is command area development. Command area development works to be part of project. Provision for command area work like on-farm development, drainage and construction of water courses will be included in the original project for major and medium irrigation projects. Next is integrated water resources management. Integrated water resources management approach will be adopted and Panchayat Raj institutions will be adequately strengthened for this purpose. Community level assistance will be provided by Panchayat Raj institutions to water user group to initiate, plan and execute water related solutions within an integrated water resources management framework. Executive members of water user groups will be chosen by democratic means with fair representations by large and small scale stakeholders, including women. As far as efficient operation allows, the framework for integrated water resources management will develop and utilize intermediate level facilitation between the state government and water user associations. The delegated organizations will undertake comprehensive community awareness program related exclusively to water conservation and water related issues with particular emphasis upon improved water management and the reduction of groundwater extraction in overexploited and critical areas. Next is formation of river basin organization. River basin organization shall be created to act as an interface between water user groups and state government. The river basin organization will have well defined functions and financial resources and will have active involvement of water user groups in their management. For efficient use of groundwater, aquifer based management system will be developed. The third aspect is a case study of water technology development in Gujarat state. Water problem in Gujarat both for drinking and irrigation that affect the development of the state caused regional imbalances and increased incidence of rural poverty. Technological initiatives like the statewide water grind, micro water harvesting, inter-basin transfer of water and power sector reforms have changed the entire water scenario in the state. There has been a great deal of emphasis on people's participation in water governance as well. Water challenges in Gujarat. Gujarat has just 2.28% of India's water resources and 6.39% of country's geographical area. This is again constrained by imbalances in intra-state distribution. The state has an average annual rainfall of 80 cm with a high coefficient of variance over time and space. As a result, drought have been frequent. Out of 185 rivers, the state has only 8 perennial rivers and all of them are located in southern part. Around 80% of the state's surface water resources are concentrated in central and southern Gujarat, whereas the remaining 3/4 of the state have only 20%. Next is new water governance model. The creation of the Water and Sanitation Management Organization was a significant shift in the role of governance from provider to facilitator by empowering village level institutions through extensive capacity building and proactive facilitation. Since its inception, Water and Sanitation Management Organization has brought about effective citizens' engagement through its innovative governance model for facilitating the successful community lead water supply program throughout the state of Gujarat. Now, more than 16,740 village water and sanitation committees have been formed in the state and are ready to take the responsibility for managing of service delivery and water resources at the decentralized level. More than 6,500 villages have already commissioned the infrastructure and water conservation projects in the demand driven mode. Another 4,547 villages are presently implementing the decentralized community managed rural water supply program in their villages with a strong sense of ownership. Next is inter-basin water transfer through Sardar Sarovar project. The Sardar Sarovar project on river Narmada is a multi-state, multi-purpose river valley project born out of deliberations of a constitutional body followed the principles of equality of right and equitable utilization of the whole course of an interstate river. Micro water harvesting. The miseries of millions of small and marginal farmers due to vagaries of nature and difficult terrain have been reduced through rainwater harvesting by micro irrigation structures implemented through people's participation. Next is Sardar Patel Participatory Conservation Project. This scheme stipulated that check dams and village tanks or ponds could be taken up for construction by a beneficiary group or any non-governmental organization with technical and financial assistance from the district panchayat local representative body. They were initially required to contribute 40% of the estimated cost, later it reduced to 10% and the rest was to be funded by the government depending upon the progress of the work. In 2007, they were also given the option of contributing their 10% by way of physical labor and therefore increasing their sense of belonging to the project by the gospel of dirty hands. 6 prototype designs were circulated with a maximum cost of Rs 10 lakh. Next is drip irrigation, Gujarat Green Revolution Company Limited. Gujarat has created the Gujarat Green Revolution Company Limited, a special purpose vehicle to popularize the adoption of drip irrigation among farmers. Gujarat Green Revolution Company offers attractive subsidy loan to adopters, but more importantly, it has fast-tracked and simplified the administrative procedures for assessing this. Farmers contribute only 5% of the cost initially. Gujarat Green Revolution Company provides a 50% subsidy and helps arrange a loan for a 45% balance. Around 1 lakh hectares are covered by drip irrigation, and most of these have been moved to high value crops. It has been estimated that around 74.1 million kilowatt per hour energy have been saved in just 1 year due to the adoption of drip irrigation by Gujarat Green Revolution Company, a body especially created for the purpose. The fourth aspect is a case study of major programs in Andaman and Nicobar Island. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands are the elevation portions of submerged submarine mountains. In terms of population density, so the Andamans and Nicobar Islands have an area of 8,249 square kilometers. In terms of economy, well, some agriculture in rice, sugarcane and spices is carried out in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. In the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, on the other hand, 80% of the area is under forest. Thus, forest-based industry such as sawn timbers, commercial plywood and mat splints continue to prosper. The government in the last 2 years has tried to initiate programs to the people for socially just and inclusive growth. Certain ongoing programs were consolidated or altered to increase their efficiency, and certain new programs were initiated in important areas like employment, health, education, rural infrastructure, urban renewal and providing people a legal framework for the right to information. Next is implementation of Integrated Child Development Service Scheme. The Integrated Child Development Service Scheme today is the world's largest program aimed at enhancing the health, nutrition and learning opportunities for infants. Young children means 0 to 6 years and their mothers. It is the foremost symbol of India's commitment to its children. India's response to the challenges of providing preschool education on one hand and breaking the vicious cycle of malnutrition, mortality and morbidity on the other. The scheme provides an integrated approach for covering basic services through community-based honorary workers like Anganwadi workers and helpers. The services are provided at the center called the Anganwadi, which literally means a courtyard play center, a childcare center located within the village itself. The packages of services provided are supplementary nutrition, immunization, health check-up, referral services, preschool non-formal education, nutrition and health education. In Andaman and Nicobar Islands, 5 integrated child development services projects and 527 Anganwadi centers were in operation as on 31st October 2005. Besides this, 94 new Anganwadi centers have been sanctioned during 2005 to 2006, which will increase the existing number by 18% under the project. Children like 6 months to 6 years, pregnant and lactating mothers were beneficiaries. The state also got Rs 80.39 lakhs from the center under the supplementary nutrition program during 2005 to 2006. Status of rural electrification in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Electricity has become one of the basic human needs. Rural electrification is therefore a vital program for socio-economic development of rural areas. The Ministry of Power has introduced the scheme Rajiv Gandhi Grameena Vidyuktikaran Yojana in April 2005, which aims at providing electricity in all villages. This program has been brought under the ambit of Bharat Nirman. In Andaman and Nicobar, the total number of inhabited villages as per 1991 census in all union territories together is 1093, while the total number of villages electrified so far is 1090. The balance 3 villages are not feasible for electrification, as a result of which the percent of electrified villages in union territories is 100%. The Rajiv Gandhi Gramini Vidyutakarana Yojana is yet to be implemented in Andaman and Nicobar Island. Next is the Indira Awas Yojana. Addresses housing shortage as an important component of poverty alleviation in rural India. The Bharat Nirman program has recognized and accorded due priority to the need to end shelterlessness, and it is envisaged to construct 60 lakh houses over the next 4 years across the country. The Ministry of Rural Development through this program undertakes housing to rural poor as a centrally sponsored scheme where the cost is shared between the centre and the state on the 75:25 basis. Funds are released in 2 installments. In Andaman and Nicobar Island, out of the total target of 1238 dwelling units, 59 were constructed during the year 2005 to 2006. The centre has allocated rupees 3.9 crore for this purpose during 2005 to 2006. The other major projects for Andaman and Nicobar Islands are augmenting transportation over sea, like 265 passenger vehicle ferries for deployment at a southern group of islands, 265 passenger cum ferry landing crafts, etc. Rajiv Gandhi package of assistance for tsunami affected areas. Soon after the tsunami struck the island, the government launched this package with an outlay of rupees 821 crore to provide immediate relief such as ex gratia payment for the next of kin of the dead, assistance for damage to agriculture crops, immediate restoration of infrastructure, etc. Construction of intermediate shelters. Construction of 9,565 intermediate shelters for tsunami affected families was completed in a record time of 2 months and well before the onset of monsoons, along with basic requirements such as water supply, sanitation and electricity. All these shelters have been fully occupied. Tsunami Reconstruction Program. The government has approved a long-term reconstruction program for restoring the infrastructure and livelihood in the island. As part of the long-term reconstruction program, 9,714 permanent shelters are being constructed for tsunami-affected persons. Police Modernization Scheme. Police Modernization Scheme has been introduced to give focused attention on modernization of police. The scheme covers communication equipments, computerization, strengthening of forensic science laboratories, modern weapons, new police stations, building police housing, etc. Survey for laying of submarine cable to mainland. Work has been started to assess the feasibility of laying of submarine cable to the mainland for addressing telecommunications problem of the islands. New study centers for distant education. The Indira Gandhi Open National University has decided to start 4 new study centers in the islands. Lastly, I conclude by saying about the most important lesson that emerges out of the foregoing discussion is that technological initiatives to improve the drinking and irrigation water supply have to be duly complemented by grassroots people's participation in management of water distribution. The decentralized community managed water supply program in different regions in India has proved to be a emulative model for the entire country.